Go. Hello and welcome to the first of our advisor chats. With me today I've got Georgia Harrison, who's one of our experienced equity advisors. Georgia specialises in helping anyone looking to build wealth via the share market, so someone looking to start a new account, to build a portfolio, and just for general share market information. She's definitely one of our specialists. So welcome, Georgia. It's good to have you along this morning.
Good morning, good to be here.
Fantastic. What we thought we'd talk about today is how someone would get started in the share market. So how does someone go about that, Georgia? What do they need to do to start off getting into the share market?
It's initially a very simple process. You could liken it to opening a bank account. You'll probably fill in a few forms, provide some identification depending on what name you're looking to purchase the shares in. You might fill in some know your client sort of style documents where you talk about your personal preferences and things like that, depending on what level of service you're looking for. But it's a pretty quick and easy process. Fill in a few forms, provide the ID. Normally you'll have an account open and ready to start purchasing shares within a day or two.
Fantastic. Okay. So once you've completed that account opening process, what happens from there? How do we look at what we're going to do? What sort of investments people are going to make?
Yeah, so what sort of shares you might buy?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that would depend on the person, what they're looking for. So we would have a conversation and talk to the person about what they were looking for from their investments. So whether they're looking for some growth, for some income, for a combination of both, how much risk they were prepared to accept, and then we can point them in the right direction of what investments might be appropriate for their needs.
So you mentioned growth and income stocks. So what are the differences with those sort of companies?
So from any investment, you're looking generally for two things. So growth being the first one. So could be called capital growth. I normally liken it to buying a house. You might buy a house for $500,000, your house goes up to being worth $1 million, that's your capital growth.
Okay.
The same with the shares. If you buy a share at $1, the share goes up to $2, that's growth. So that's certainly a primary thing that you're looking for from any share, the growth in share price.
Right.
The second thing that most investors will be looking for is income.
Okay.
So if we liken it back to the house example, you buy an investment property, say you put a tenant in, the tenant pays rent, that's your income on the house. Your income on the shares is your share of the company profits, which is what we call a dividend. Right. So let's say, for instance, the Commonwealth Bank makes a profit, they then share those profits with their shareholders in the form of a dividend. So that's your rent, if you like, on the shares. So that's your income from the shares. So one or the other of those, or a combination of both, depending on what the investor's looking for.
And people say blue chip stocks. What do they mean by a blue chip stock?
Yeah, a blue chip stock generally means something that's a little bit more safe and secure. A company that's been around for a long time, has a good track record of earnings and operation and things like that. So there's still going to be risk with a blue chip share. So you can't eliminate risk, but it's probably at the less riskier end of the scale.
Right. Okay, fantastic. And so how can a broker like yourself at iInvest help someone getting started? What are you able to do to help them in their first investments?
We guide them through the whole process. So the share market can be unfamiliar to a lot of people and they think it's scary and they don't know how to approach it. Advisors and firms like ours can certainly help them navigate through that process. So we basically hold their hand through the whole from start to finish, from helping them open the account to buying their first parcel of shares and then looking after them on an ongoing basis. So it's all encompassing. Okay.
So let's say I've bought my first lot of shares. What do I expect to receive? Is there lots of paperwork? What do I get from there?
Absolutely, there is. So once your account is open and you're ready to go and you've decided what you're going to purchase, that's the fun part. We push the buttons, we purchase the shares. When we purchase the shares for you, you'll receive what we call a contract note or a trade confirmation, and you'll receive that on the same day that you purchase the shares. So that's your record that the shares have been purchased.
Right, okay.
So that comes from your broker. Thereafter, you will receive some documents in the mail from what we call the share registry. So the share registry is who the companies employ to send out all of their shareholder information, if you like. So they'll send you out some statements showing that you hold the shares. And then on an ongoing basis after that, you'll receive your dividend statements. You might receive subsequent statements if you buy or sell some more shares. Right. You'll receive annual reports. You might receive some voting papers, all sorts of different things depending on what the companies are doing. Okay. But I always say to people, if they're unsure of what they get in the mail, That's what your broker's here for. You give us a call,
Okay.
we can let you know and explain what each different piece of paper is for.
Fantastic. Just a general sort of overview. What would you say for someone starting out, sort of some general risks that they need to be aware of in the share market? What are the sort of risks that the market has in it?
Absolutely. So very simply, I always say to people, shares will go up and shares will go down.
Right.
It's just part and parcel. If anyone says to you, you'll buy a share and it'll only ever go up, they're lying. So there is risk with any share, but like I said before, there's different amounts of risk for different shares.
Okay.
So that's the very simple one. Then there's all sorts of other external risks, I suppose. So the risk that the company doesn't make such good profits one year, to the next might affect the share price. Then you've got sort of external risks. So like we're seeing in the moment, the conflict with Russia and the Ukraine. So there's political risks, not just from within our own country, but overseas that can affect the market and can affect market, specific stocks to that.
Yep.
So it might affect the oil and commodity stocks more than it might affect certain other stocks. We've seen COVID just recently affect, say, the travel stocks more than any other sort of stock. So risks can be specific to a certain stock, and that's why we always suggest diversification is really important. And that's just a fancy word for don't put all your eggs in the one basket. So you want to spread your investments across a few different areas so that if one's not going so well, hopefully it's supported by the others that are going so well. So that helps you to manage your risk.
Okay, and I suppose that's something a broker like yourself would be able to help with, helping to pick up the stocks that would be a good balance of diversification.
Absolutely, and that's what we do with clients as part of building their portfolio. We'll sort of make suggestions to them of, yes, you don't want to have all of your investments in the banking sector or all of your investments in the mining sector. So you want a little bit of both and, throw in a few other sectors as well so that you've got some good balance.
Okay, fantastic. Well, look, there's some fantastic points, Georgia, and thanks for coming along this morning.
No problems at all.
Look, that should certainly give people some great information on how to get started. And if they want any more information, please give Georgia a call. She's more than happy to spend some time explaining what we can do and explaining how to get started in the share market.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.